So almost 2 years into the pandemic and 1 year into the vaccine era, why are we no better off? Let's get into it with tonight's party panel. We've got former Trump Advisory Board member Jason Meister. He is here, along with the host of the Part of the Problem podcast, also a comedian and an extraordinary intellectual, Dave Smith, Yes Blue Wall, and attorney and Democrat strategist Kelly Hyman. Welcome back, Kelly. Nice to see you all. Yay.
Nice to see you, Kennedy.
Thank you. It's nice to be seen.
Nice to see you.
So, Jason, here we are. More deaths this year than last year. There might be some undercounted COVID deaths. We haven't heard that yet, so we could actually be closer to 1 million people who've perished because of the virus. So,
right.
What does that tell you about the vaccines and the state of play?
Sure. So, look, in just under a year, 2 doses, a booster later, we've effectively redefined vaccine from preventing infection to preventing severe disease after infection. And if you think about it, the medical community, the media, and Big Pharma wanted us to believe that that was the case all along. Well, no, they moved the needle, no pun intended. And the reality is that the coercion and the mandates, I think, has caused severe vaccine hesitancy among Americans. And I think if they were just honest with the American people about what kinds of risks there are, and they didn't censor those who challenge or question the efficacy of the vaccines, I think you'd have a much higher vaccination rate in this country right now. So that's my position on the vaccines. I'm not anti-vax. I'm anti-vax mandate.
Yeah, I actually agree with that position. I didn't have a problem taking the vaccine. I had a conversation with my doctor about it and came to that conclusion, as a lot of people did. So what has the government done wrong here, Dave, that we have gotten to the point where so many people are still skeptical and we have so many people who are still getting sick and dying from the virus? What are we doing wrong?
I don't think we have enough time, Kennedy, to handle what the government's done wrong over the whole COVID, insanity. But I will say that for all of the hysteria that you see about, vaccine hesitancy or anti-vax people or disinformation, which sure, there is plenty of that online. I mean, there's everything. But the overwhelming reality that's right in front of us, and I love that you're pointing out a year later from people getting the first shot, is that these vaccines have not lived up to what they were sold to be. And that's just a fact that no one can get around. This was supposed to be, you take your shot and this insanity is over and we get to go back to living life as normal. And they bragged about, 94, 95% protection. No one believes this anymore. The truth is that with each new variant, the vaccine provides less and less protection. It looks like with this newest Omicron variant that because of the mutations, the vaccine is probably going to provide even less protection. But the good news is that it looks like this is going to be a less deadly variant. So it seems that everybody who made all of these grand promises about how the vaccine was going to cure this thing have been completely wrong. It seems like we should be focusing on treatments and accepting that COVID is going to be part of reality going forward. It's not going away anytime soon. But as that seems more and more obviously to be the reality, people are going more and more insane with the vaccine hysteria, insisting on mandates and passports and ruining the lives of people who simply don't want to take the vaccine, some with very good reason, like they have natural immunity or they have allergies. And no one wants to grapple with this, but this is the obvious reality. The vaccines did not live up to what they were promised to be, and we should pull back on the craziness.
And you would also see vastly different numbers in terms of hospitalizations and deaths in places like Florida and California. And Kelly, you would see, if it were the case that the virus was incredibly deadly for children, then all the private school kids in this country would have dropped dead. Thankfully, that didn't happen. So in parts of the country where things are open, why can't the rest of the country just do that and let people make up their own minds?
Well, I think it's important for people to make up their own mind. Ultimately, it's a personal decision, and you have to talk to your doctor and see what's best for you. But it's important for us to follow the science. And what does the science show? That people that have been vaccinated are protected. That social distancing, to wear masks to protect yourselves. But obviously, Kennedy, as you said, you got the information and you're vaccinated as well. And so I think that's key for people to know that ultimately it's their decision on whether or not they're going to get vaccinated or not. But ultimately, people, the study has shown that people that are vaccinated are not dying over COVID.
Yes, and we do have.
It's just not true, though, to say that people who are vaccinated are protected. People who are vaccinated are not dying. I love how everyone's so on alert for the misinformation. But if you're on the side of pro-vaccine, you can just say these blanket statements that are just factually wrong.
That's not true.
It may give you better odds, okay, but it's not just factually true that you're protected if you take the vaccine.
Yeah,
I didn't say that. That's not the case.
But there's no one course of action that gives you 100% protection. And we are still acting like we're in the early stages, the early weeks and months of the pandemic. We're doing the exact same things. We've seen the bad effects. I talk about them on this show all the time. We've seen the bad effects socially, particularly with children. You know, particularly with the rates of suicide and self-harm skyrocketing amongst kids and adolescents. That's not acceptable. We cannot keep locking everything down because we have outstanding questions and then say, well, I follow the science, like it is this static, decided thing, which by definition it is not. The panel's going to stick around because I'm going to stick them with some more of these fun needles. Meanwhile, CDC estimates the Omicron variant is now 3% of all COVID cases in the U.S. In New York and New Jersey, could be as high as 13%. No one really knows. The White House, again, pushing booster shots for those 16 and older to help fight the variant. But are boosters going to become the new normal? Dr. Fauci seems to think so. You're just going to have to deal with the jab. Watch.